One of the most exciting and inspiring moments in American history happened hundreds of thousands of miles above the Earth as American astronauts landed on the moon. Let's explore why and how one of mankind's greatest achievements was possible through innovation. Space programs inspire me to dream of personally soaring into space on a rocket someday. Attending a shuttle launch, I experienced its awesome power up close. And at places like Kennedy Space Center in Florida and the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., I could see and touch pieces of our space history and learn why we chose to put a man on the moon. Space became a battleground of the Cold War. The United States and Russia, threatened and distrustful of each other, developed vehicles to deliver their new atomic bombs. Starting with captured World War II Nazi V-2 rockets and German scientists, both countries instituted innovative programs to develop their own advanced military intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. Because the United States had a more powerful air force and European bases close to the USSR, the Soviets relied heavily on developing ICBMs to reach halfway around the world. Instead of launching missiles at each other to prove their technological superiority, both countries competed by converting military rockets to launch satellites, animals, and people into space. The Soviets took an early lead in 1957 with their Vostok rocket derived from their R-7 ICBM. Afraid of falling behind, the United States formed the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and passed the National Defense Education Act in 1958 to provide educated engineers and scientists that could discover future innovations to close the technology gap. A month after a Russian cosmonaut became the first man in space, President John F. Kennedy, believing America's advancing technology could surpass Russia's with a long-range and innovative plan, proposed an even greater challenge.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
NASA's new focus was not to keep up with Soviet technology, but to make a quantum leap ahead. Unlike Russia's Vostok program and NASA's Mercury Gemini projects that use converted military rockets capable of reaching low Earth orbit, NASA's Apollo program required an entirely new, innovative, and powerful vehicle capable of traveling to the moon and back. NASA tasked scientists and engineers to come up with innovations in guidance, propulsion, assembly, transportation, and launch systems. The Apollo program spawned the Saturn V with its F-1 engines, the most powerful rocket ever developed. Building upon the experience of the previous missions, Apollo 11 was destined for a landing on the moon. After 5 days of traveling to the lunar surface with over 500 million people watching on television back on Earth, American astronaut Neil Armstrong took that historic step outside his capsule.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Ever since that historic day, many of NASA's innovations have trickled down to benefit and enrich our daily lives. Many students have been inspired to go into the fields of science and engineering and to reach for the stars. In the future, what opportunities will the space program have for my generation to take our place in history? So what can kids of my generation do to help support future NASA space programs?
The United States has been a leader in space exploration for the past 50 years, but I think the American public has pretty much demanded that we be leaders. And I think you guys take an active role, be involved, and make sure the United States is one of the leaders in space exploration.
So what do you believe the future of NASA's manned space program should be?
We ought to go to Mars, and that's the vision that has been set by the President. He has set a timetable of rendezvousing and landing on an asteroid by 2025, and then developing the technologies all along to go in the mid-2030s to go to the planet Mars.